How are you?
Good. All right, so last one of the day. All right, nothing better than ending with a quarterback. All right, so, we're excited, man, with the quarterback we signed. We truly believe that we found a steal in this class, man, at this position. And we did everything we could to hold on to this joker all the way till the end. So that's the biggest thing, man, is we're excited about who we signed. And I'm excited about this class that we have on offense, and he's been the biggest leader. So first guy, obviously the only guy we're going to talk about today is Mason Heintschel, all right, from Oregon, Ohio. All right, he, one thing about Mason, man, and that, one thing that we did as a whole offensive staff where, everywhere I've been is we watch every single kid as a whole entire offensive staff when I got here. We sat down and watched every single kid. We all rated them. We all, want to make sure that we all see the same thing, right? And the funniest thing is that all the quarterbacks we've watched in the entire country, don't matter, 3-star, 4-star, 5-star, when we put our ratings together, Mason was the highest rated guy on our board. And so, sometimes it's weird, man, when you see a kid like that who really didn't have a Power 5 offer at the time, and you're like, man, like, are we right, And it's funny, when we first brought him to Coach Dews, the one thing you see about Mason, I think, that separates him from a lot of quarterbacks is his playmaking ability. He had naturally makes plays, and he doesn't do it, he makes it off a feel, and I think that's what makes him so special, is that he can do things that other people can't do. And it's funny when you watch his tape, man. That's he's making so many plays outside the pocket, but that's also because they didn't block very well for him, right? In high school, he had to make a lot of off platform plays and make a lot of plays outside the pocket. But Coach wanted to see a lot of his throws from the pocket. A great story about him, recruiting him, and so we, I went back and watched every game, and I wanted to see him play, every game, every clip that he had, and all games he played, and we watched every single one, and we made a cut up for Coach of all the throws he had from the pocket as his junior year. And when Coach saw that cut up that he had of all the throws from the pocket, he realized real fast that we had a steal. And because, man, there's not many kids in the country that can make the plays that he can make, but also stay in the pocket with great feel and deliver balls with people in his face and throw the ball with anticipation. And that's what we're excited about with Mason. He comes from an athletic family. His dad, Eric, played baseball at Michigan. And so, he's an all-sports guy, played baseball a lot growing up, played on the basketball team all 3 years there at Clay High School. But he's just a great athlete, And what really separates me opinion about Mason than a lot of other people also is how tough he is. He's a tough football player. When you watch him playing games, man, like all the games you watch and the game I went to, man, he's not just the best player on the field, but he's the toughest player on the field. He'll do anything to get a first down, anything to win the game. And just his mentality of being a great leader, vocal leader on the field during games. You could tell his player respects him as a quarterback. But also just the way he plays, you can tell that he's competitive, man. And he plays with an edge, and he plays with fire. And, he's got to learn how to dive sometimes when he's running, right? He's that type of kid. But I think that's what makes him special. And like I said, he was a kid, kind of like Coach Darvo said, him and Shep were kind of leaders of the class. He was a kid that was always recruiting for us, talking to all the players and being a leader of our class. And he never wavered. That's one thing about Mason. He never wavered. And like I said, man, we got to steal, just talking about what he did at his high school. There's a lot of places that, I know a lot of people that wanted him to transfer, because the school he was at hasn't won in a long time. He stayed there all 4 years, and they won their championship for the first time in 42 seasons, which is an awesome accomplishment. Just the type of person he is, and the type of character he has. So when you have a guy like that at quarterback, man, it's special. So that we're excited to have him here, and can't wait to get him here in January to get a lot of reps.
Two things I want to ask you about. You said he was the highest rated guy quarterback you looked at.
Yeah.
How many guys did you look at, and how hard was it to keep them?
Shoot, man, we probably watched every quarterback in the country. Obviously you got guys that were already committed before we got here. And so you had guys already committed. So there was a group of guys, that we thought we had a shot at, and guys that we brought brought up and came up to camp. And, but it was just, when we all looked at the same things, right? The three things that he brings, like I said, is he's tough, he's athletic, and man, he throws a great ball. He's very catchable, and he throws with anticipation. And and to me, those are the big traits that quarterbacks that he has, and I think that's what separated him from other guys.
How hard was it to keep? You mentioned that.
Yeah, there's some schools that came in late, that tried to, and he never wavered. That was the great thing about it, relationships and just playing in this offense. He saw that, I think this year that the offense fits him, with his quick release and the way we throw RPOs and the way that he makes plays. He realized that the ball is going to be in his hand. And he's a very confident kid. He wants the ball in his hand. And so, I think that was a big part of it. And obviously us believing in him that he was the guy in this class, and Coach Dews believing in that as a head coach.
Does, him fending off maybe Michigan coming in the 11th hour, trying to steal him away, do you attribute that also to like the success that you guys showed on offense, that he could have confidence that, hey, I know that there's this big program over here that just won a national title, but I like what I see here at Pitt?
I think two things. I think that's just who Mason is also. Just being around the kid and talking to the people in the school and just his family, the kid's a loyal kid. Like I said, the kid's a competitor. We gave him his first Power 4 offer, and that meant something to him. We believed in him when some teams didn't, and Coach Dews believed in him when some teams didn't. And that's why we took his commitment so early. It's not like he's a kid that we waited till we brought him in the summer and brought him in, and all that. I mean, he came up on an unofficial visit, and he loved the offense, and he loved what Coach Dews was about and what this program was about, and he saw himself here at Pitt. And I think for him, man, for us going after him and telling him that he was the guy we wanted, I think that meant a lot. And obviously the success we did have this year with the quarterback having the ball in his hands and the way we, I feel like we turned it around and put up some good numbers at quarterback. It kind of showed that, hey, offensively we build this thing right, man. Great things can happen, and he wanted to be a part of that.
Any additional questions?
What are some things that, you obviously spoke about how great a quarterback he is and how much he has improved as a senior. What are some things you're looking for him once he gets on the campus? What are some things you want to work with him on?
Yeah, I think really the two things I kind of talked to him throughout the whole year this year as a senior is, his footwork. He's got so much, he's a really good arm. He's got, almost 10-inch hands, so he can spin the football in bad weather. The one game I went to, it was helling. It was, out there, and it was windy. And I'm talking about, 30 miles an hour winds out there. And he was out there just spinning all across the field in pregame, and it was wet. And so the one thing is that he can, with how athletic he is, right? He likes to move around the pocket, and there's a lot of times where he gets away with his arm, not getting his feet set quicker. And so that was one thing that we really talked about this senior year. Was like, hey, how fast can you get set and get rid of the football? But he's such a coachable kid that he worked on it. He got so much better from his junior to senior film with his feet. And I think that's also why he was such even more complete quarterback his senior year than his junior year, because that was something that you saw from the pocket. That, hey, let me get my feet set. Let me make sure I'm ready to throw sometimes, instead of kind of floating backwards, kind of like Mahomes, right? Floating backwards and kind of using my arm and athletic ability to make throws. And so that's one thing. And obviously, as a young kid, you want to get him in the film room and just teach more ball to him. He had the ball in his hands a lot in high school. That's one thing I love as a quarterback is he's a kid that had the ball in his hands. He attempted a lot of passes the last 3 years there at Clay High School. So he's used to having the ball in his hands. But like you said, that's another thing is like, hey, learn more football, and that's him coming in January, and I'm getting him to understand more about that.
You spoke about him recruiting a lot of the guys to come join Pitt. How important is that once he gets to Pitt? He'll have the relationship already, going forward in these future years.
Oh, 100%. As a quarterback, even when I came in as a true freshman, I wanted to build relationships with those guys. I wanted to go out and throw, and him coming in January with all three of these guys, which was a big reason why we signed these guys, is we wanted these guys here in January, here for spring ball. So we can go through a whole spring and a whole summer of learning the offense and being able to coach them, and Coach Stack be able to develop them in the weight room. And so for him to build that relationship, he was the type of kid that's like, hey, who are we recruiting, right? Like, who do I need to talk to? And I think that's what makes him special, and he wants to be that guy. He's going to be that kid as soon as he walks on campus. He's all football. He wants to be a great quarterback. He's not scared of the expectations. at this position in this offense, and he's going to make sure those guys are where they need to be and they're ready to play.
Any final? Coach, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sir, appreciate you.